to another edition of GovTech Today. I'm Russell Lowery.
And I'm Jen Sayha.
And together we try and bridge the gap between .com and .gov. We have today a very special guest. I'm super excited about this one. We managed to secure the expertise of Sadie St. Lawrence. Did I get that right, Sadie?
Yes, you did it beautifully. Thank you.
All right. So, Sadie, for our audience, we'll begin, and Jen, I'll come to you next, but we're going to talk a little bit about women in data in particular, and then some other things you're working on. But tell us a little bit, how did you get started in data? What's your background?
Yeah, well, first, I just want to say a big thank you to you, Russell and Jen, for starting this podcast. I think there's a big need to bridge the gap, and I love your tagline of .gov and .com. I think it's really perfect and beautiful. And as someone who had consulted for public service back in my days at Accenture, I'm just so excited for what you guys are doing between bridging those tech areas. So yeah, just to tell you a little bit more about myself, I've worked in data and AI for over 10 years. I took a little bit of a winding road to get there. So my first degree was in piano performance. So for those who can't see my background, I have a harp in the background and I have a guitar. The music still legs around. And one of the things that I love about university is you get to take general education classes. And so in general education classes, I found that I fell in love with science and particularly studying the brain, studying psychology and neuroscience. So I also got a degree in psychology, and then I worked in a neuroscience lab. I thought I was going to go on to be a professor, a researcher. I loved research. I loved teaching. Come to find out, after working in the lab for a few years, I realized don't like being in a dark basement. And I didn't want to work with rodents anymore. Having grown up on a farm, I said, okay, I was trying to get away from animals, not keep taking care of animals. And so I went home and I said, how do I keep the part of my job that I like, which is analyzing the data, doing science, and get rid of the parts that I don't like? And I stumbled on this term in 2014 called data science, started reading more about it, and was like, yes, that's me. So I went into the lab on Monday. I quit my job and said, okay, I got to get any job just starting to work with data because I need more experience in this. And then I got my master's in data science and had a really fun career in the space. There's so many different roles that you can do in the space. So I worked as an analytics engineer, a data scientist. I went on to lead a data science team. And then I went into the world of consulting and did AI strategy as well. So it's been a fun career, just beginning. And really, to me, I feel like it's the best time to be alive when we're on this precipice of what's happening in AI. I feel so lucky to have seen this wave coming, and more importantly, just to be alive as an individual during this time to see all these advancements in our life. So it's really exciting.
Well, we share your enthusiasm. I hope the audience can hear it in your voice like I do. It's contagious. It's infectious. Jen, audience is obviously more familiar with you, but I don't know that we've really explained your background. You had a pretty diverse experience, and then as you built your business with a tech focus, why don't you talk a little bit about that transition that you made, or how you got involved in data and tech?
Yeah, well, I'll just say that Sadie's enthusiasm is really contagious because I caught the bug as well and really caught it after meeting her. Women in Data, the organization that Sadie runs, and she'll tell us more about it, but sort of bridging that gap, right, between the private sector and technology and government has sort of been my sweet spot throughout my career. Also, a winding road. And something that we constantly are harping on our government to do is to make data informed decisions. Imagine that. As citizens, I want to know that my government is making decisions based on data, and it's something that they've frankly struggled with throughout time. AI is sort of bringing that all to the forefront of what we're thinking about today because data is the foundation of a lot of these AI initiatives. But making sure that data is where it needs to be and representing the decisions correctly is something that, I mean, Russell, we've certainly talked about it on the podcast before. and something that I feel like government lags a little bit in catching up with. And I think as a result of that, kind of lags in a lot of bringing on these new technologies as well.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the women in data, and we're going to dive into that. My engagement with women in data is sort of, I've seen Sadie speak at a few different events, and obviously doing the podcast with you, and you've educated me about a lot in the GovTech space over the last year. So my experience is brand new. But you invited me to join Women in Data, which was an odd thing since I'm not a woman and I'm not
You're an
the
ally.
so basically I just joined because you asked me to, and I want to be supportive of that, and I've got a couple daughters who are definitely interested in it and studying it a little bit now, so I want to be supportive. So I've been a consumer of it, but Sadie, why don't you give the audience a little bit, just an overview? What is Women in Data?
Yeah, so Women in Data is a global nonprofit organization, and our whole mission is to increase diversity in data careers. So, as I like to say, all are welcome in the space. Yes, thank you, Russell, for joining. You're definitely welcome in the space, and we're happy to have you in the space. But more importantly, we're here to support our community and our members for every step along their journey. So, whether they're changing their career and coming into the space, or they're a CDO and are looking for other leaders that they can collaborate with and work with and share, what they're working on and learning best practices. So we really look at ways to see how we can help our members be able to connect, grow, and lead in their careers. And we do that through our three pillars of awareness, education, and empowerment. So that goes on to take a variety of forms. I like to say my job is just to be a gardener. I have a planter box, and then all these amazing individuals and women come in and they grow beautiful things in it. I just make sure that we have, enough water, maybe a little bit of sunshine. So we have chapters all across the globe. Jen leads one of our chapters. It's one of our industry chapters. She was one of our first individuals to start an industry chapter. And so that's a California government chapter. And then we have just, local city chapters that also meet. And so those meet on a monthly or quarterly basis. And then we have a platform that provides a lot of on demand resources and education, everything from you can get a certificate in machine learning, analytics, take a leadership course, join our buddy program. So we really try our best to listen to our members, listen to our community, and create that what they need to be able to grow, lead in their career.
So Jen, why did you step up? You're busy. You've got a lot of plates spinning in your life, a lot of achievement going on, and yet you added this sort of public service opportunity to your plate. Why did you step up to do that?
Well, first of all, Sadie's being incredibly modest about just this powerhouse of an organization that she's built. She didn't say it, but this is really a global organization, 60 plus countries, 70,000 members. So it's massive in its scale. Diversity in jobs, period, is always something that I've really been passionate about. But when we sort of looked at the public sector, which is where a lot of my experience was, I mean, this disparity of women being underrepresented in data science roles, I think is probably even more prominent than it is in the general industry, at least from my observations. And I sat through HR reform in government job classification reforms, and there still today is no data scientist classification in state government. It's the same at counties. So I approached Sadie and said, I have this idea, entertain me, if you will, about focusing on government in particular and really narrowing in on the the issues that government employees have in increasing their data science awareness and building their data science careers. So that's sort of what we did. I've got an incredible co-lead for my chapter. She is in government. She works at the Department of Technology. Katie Regan, came from local government. So it isn't just state government. I know that's a lot of my focus, but locals have the same challenges. So our chapter in particular really focuses in on the governments in the state of California, state and local, and really reaching those women and championing diversity in what they're doing with growing.
I love to hear that. Sadie, you mentioned three pillars: awareness, education, and empowerment. When I'm thinking about why are there not more women in data, uh, which is it one of those elements or one of those legs of the stool that's more important, or is it all three? How should we think about that problem?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would definitely say this is a three-legged stool. So all of
Okay.
the all three are very important. Being a data person myself and having worked in the industry, I thought that I was going to come into women in data and tackle it like a data scientist would, right? Of like, give me all the data on why there aren't women, and then we're going to address one of those problems one by one. And I figured I would solve this problem within 10 years, right? Well, no, it's been that long now. So we still have a lot more work to do, but we're making good progress. And it really comes down to three factors. One, if we think about a pipeline, it's the beginning of that pipeline. We hear so many women who come into this space who say, I just wish I would have known this was even a career option for me. Right. I got pointed other directions in high school. Like, I come to find out I'm really good at statistics. I've come to find out I love data. I come to find out I love algorithms and AI and working in the space. So there is a big portion of awareness from the aspect of, all the way from high school, but even individuals who are in their career already. So today, individuals will change their career roughly 4 times. And that's just not meaning job title changes, but full on, maybe moving from a marketing function, maybe changing different industries. And so there's still a lot of awareness that we can do in terms of what is this job, what jobs are available in this space, and what can you do about it. There's definitely on the education side of what I like to say is providing the right access to the right opportunities at the right time. So, again, when we're thinking of those individuals who are mid career looking to get into this field, you don't have a ton of time to be able to take classes or make that career change. And so, making those in bite sized, digestible formats is really important. And then last but not least, we look at the end of the pipeline. So it's not just a matter of getting individuals into the space, but how do we keep them in the space and help them grow in their career? So in Women in Data, we've analyzed that there are over 100 different job titles just within the field of what we call data careers, right? So everything from machine learning engineer to data product owner, there's a lot of different roles that you can be in this space. And so, how do we help you find that perfect fit for you? And then, how do we help you move into those leadership positions? So, there's a lot of challenges of not just getting women into the space, but helping them to feel welcome in the space, helping them to feel like there are career opportunities, and that there are, most importantly, opportunities for them to lead and their voice to be heard in this space.
So, Jen, when you think about those same challenges and apply them to the government sector, I don't know. I haven't looked at it as extensively as you have, but we see women in leadership roles in California government, at least on the data side. When you've got Secretary Amy Tong is at the top of the food chain. You've got women in senior positions in legal, in procurement, and in some of those core functions. Does that how does that play into your strategy on growing the women presence, the female presence in the data space and government?
It certainly doesn't hurt. And, the thing I love about it is I call them like soft data careers as well. Like I am not one to go in and start coding a website. Sadie probably is, but that's not me. But I appreciate data. I can really work through an Excel spreadsheet with all kinds of pivot tables. But I think there's aspects of data that still are involved in my career every single day. It's how are we using data to influence sales cycles or policy decisions? So I just love that you can still fit in here and be a part of Women in Data without having to have that computer science degree, even. I mean, in government, you do get those sort of, hey, everyone's got to pitch in. And what I really love, we've been going on a little bit of a listening tour with technology leaders around state government. I've spoken with a number of CIOs and agency information officers, and one of them told me something that really stuck with me. And it was a man, and I'm encouraging him to get involved in our chapter and pass it along to his team. And he said, I think I need to reach outside of my team. And I was like, okay, I love this. Let's go with this.
Okay.
And he started to talk about how they have scientists working on water quality, and they have people working on GIS that are not even in their IT unit. But he's like, what about those kind of data people? And I'm like, yes, I love that, because it's so broad, really, when you think about it. So it's getting creative in government, and really building up those women in data leadership roles. And, as Sadie mentioned, with the career path, how do I advance in my role in looking at data at the state level, or at my county or my city? I mean, we're still to the point where we don't have a chief data officer at each department in state government. We have one for the state, but I mean, that's a big job, massive job, really. And so just familiarizing governments as a whole with this concept of making data a focus, I think is something that will benefit everyone working.
I think I'm reading a book by Wendy Batchelder on data management. She recently transitioned from her role, I think it was at Salesforce, into a new role. But I'm reading this book, and I'm struck by the idea. And maybe when you started your career, Sadie, you were thinking of data, and it was over there, and you had data professionals, and they did their thing, and they served up stuff to leadership. I think in the way we're evolving now, and how critical data is, and how leaders are hungry for more data, it's not tangential. It's like everybody in the leadership capacity needs to have some more engagement with data than maybe they needed even 5 years ago.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm so happy that you're reading the book. So Wendy is on the Women in Data board of directors and is a good friend and good advocate. So it's a small world in the data world, and you've just found that out, I think,
Yeah.
from reading the book, and it's an excellent book. But yes, I would 100% agree. When my first job in data, like I said, I was just trying to get any job, and I didn't know what department was in. I got put in the marketing department, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. But I will say at that time, I was like, what am I doing in the marketing department? I don't care about colors and words and all of these things. Like, I want to get to the data. Right. And I was always, yelling at the IT. And finally, they kicked me out to the IT building, and I moved to teams. And
You
then I missed my
escaped.
marketing team. Right. But it just goes to show, I think that now in 2024, everyone in business or in government is a data person, right? I think I read the other day that even just Microsoft Excel, there's 2 billion users of Microsoft Excel, which is just crazy to me. 2 billion users. I'm like, almost half of the world uses Microsoft Excel. And yes, some can argue, oh, that's not a real data product, or you're not a real data person. No, it is. Okay. I will classify you all right now that you are. But more importantly, we just see more and more that our world is run and driven by data. And that's really what AI feeds off of, and what we need to make sure that everyone has a deep understanding of. And so, Jen, I loved your story and what you shared, which is like, oh, I'm a data adjacent person. And it's like, no, you're not. We all are data people, right? We're just maybe data people from a different lens, right? Maybe you're looking at it from a business lens, or more of a sales cycle, or there's a person who's in the weeds of it and writing the SQL queries, right? Russell, you're reading a book on data governance right now. So I like to just think that we're all data people. And when we all level set and think of ourselves as data people, it starts to really open up the conversation for more perspectives of how each individual views the world and the data that they're using to view the world.
That's a fantastic perspective. if you can't deal with data, you're not going to be an effective decision maker. And that as we produce the volume of data that we're producing every year, growing exponentially, the ability to think about how to use it to arrive at good decisions for government sector people in particular, or also is going to be more and more critical. Why not? We've talked about women in data a little bit, but I want to, before we wrap up, I want to give you an opportunity to give us a sense of what else is on your plate. You've got this massive worldwide organization and these amazing leaders that you get to work with. What else is on your plate?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of what I call slash careers. So you have your one full time job slash something else, right?
Uh-huh.
I think some people call that side hustles, but there's a whole book I read. It's called Slash Careers. So I'd highly encourage individuals to read that. One of the things that I've fell in love with is teaching. So I still teach with UC Davis. I have a class sequel for data science that's reached over 600,000 people. I just recently updated that class and am getting ready to launch a new class with them called AI for Knowledge Workers. So, how I classify knowledge workers are if you work at a desk, you're probably a knowledge worker. So, it means you're doing things with your brain, and there's a good chance that you can use AI. And so I would stay tuned and look for that. And then I also have a class on AI for data professionals on LinkedIn Learning. And then most recently, I really missed my work in research and wanted to take a new approach to education that's a little bit more timely to serving people, and started an institute called the Human Machine Collaboration Institute, so HMCI for short. And really, our mission is to build those on ramps and bridge the barriers between technology and human evolution. So, what I've seen in this space for the past 10 years is technology can grow and scale really, really quickly, but our human biological development is kind of slow, right? So we need these on ramps to be able to merge with the new advancements of technology a lot faster. And so what we've done is we've identified what I call three epochs. So there are these big transformational changes that we see happening, one currently right now, and then two in the next decade. So the first one is that humans work alongside machines, and this is particularly within the regards of using AI. So for knowledge workers, right, that's using tools like Gen AI. We'll also see this a lot with manual labor. Probably in the next 2 years, we're going to see a big influx of robotics within manual labor. And so, right now, the education portion of that, we provide a lot of AI enablement of what's the best way for humans to work alongside of the machine. Right. To be able to update their workflows. And a lot of it just comes down to changing your mindset of how you work. I don't know about you, but I get stuck in my old ways of work habits, right? Of go in, check my calendar, check my email, go to my Monday board, all these things. And so updating those processes is really important, and understanding the tools you use. And then we're doing research on the next two epochs, which the second one is machines starting to take over more tasks. So you'll start to notice that most of the tools that you open up will have now an AI chatbot or assistant in it. I just opened up Adobe, the PDF reader, Adobe Acrobat. And I saw in there it had a chatbot. And I thought, okay, this has one, Canva has one. Every new tool that I open up has one. Soon, these chatbots are between applications are going to start talking to each other, right? And so if they can talk between applications, I will be able to release more of my workload, which will come through another transformation of how humans will evolve in working with machines. And then the last epoch that we're doing research on is actually humans learning from machines. And so there's some really, really cool things happening in neuroscience and human machine collaboration research right now in regards to being able to understand more about ourselves and what's happening in the brain with the use of AI. So we have it's estimated anywhere between 50 to 75% of our thoughts are unconscious at every time. I would love to know what else is happening in my brain that I can't see. Some people don't want to, and that's fine. That can be your choice. But I think we have a lot of opportunity for technology to help us actually understand more about ourselves and hopefully understand more about each other and humanity.
That's fantastic. I don't know how you do that all.
I know.
Uh, I got a little tired considering it, and I keep plenty of plate spinning myself. But that's amazing. If people are interested in any of the things that you've mentioned, what's the best way to engage or follow up with you?
So, probably one of the easiest, I do a personal newsletter each month where I share just essentially my thoughts on things happening in the industry. And then I'll share kind of one promotion about women in data that's happening that month. I'll share one promotion about HMCI and maybe a new class. So, if you kind of want everything all in one, that's just once a month. I have a newsletter, it's on the top header of my LinkedIn.
It's so good,
Otherwise, I would
by
highly.
the way.
We'll include a link to the
That's
newsletter to make it easy for all of our podcast listeners, and we'll put it on the LinkedIn when we post the description of the episode. And
And
we
then,
can do
given
that.
that this is a GovTech podcast, I would highly encourage that everyone joins the Women in Data California government chapter. They have some fantastic events. It's free to join. We can also share a link that individuals could easily sign up. So that would be my second one. And remember that all are welcome. So you don't have to just be a woman in the space. You can be a data adjacent person. You can be an ally. All are welcome. It's just a great opportunity to get to come, connect, grow, and be able to lead in your career.
Well, I thank you for that generous invitation. And Jen, what did you want to point to as we wrap up?
Well, I think also considering this is a podcast, Sadie also hosts an awesome podcast that I listen to. It's called Data Bites, Bytes, and we'll put a link up for that as well. It's one of my can't miss ones.
Well, Sadie, thank you for joining us and lending us your expertise. We look forward to seeing you in the world of data.
Well, and thanks so much for having me. And thanks for everything the two of you do to bridge the gap between government and technology. It's going to be an exciting decade ahead of all of us.
Woohoo. Thank you.